This conference will now be recorded.
So today we'll be starting with our first tool in our delivery pipeline. Like in the first class, we have discussed, got an overview of a delivery pipeline, right? So there we have learned that developers write the code and place the code on GitLab. We will pull the code from a version control system and use the code, right? So let us learn what is this version control system? Why do you need it as a DevOps person? Who are all the people who will be working with it? So let's get an understanding of this. So let's talk about what a version control system is. Anyone, any idea about version control systems? Anyone using any kind of version control systems here? Maybe any version control system, not only Git. Anyone? Share your inputs if you know what is a version control system. You could speak out. That's how we can have more interactive sessions. Yes, please, someone speaking.
There was a time I used Subversion by IBM.
Sorry?
Hello,
Yeah.
I use SVN Subversion version control by
Okay,
IBM.
you use SVN as a version control. Okay, that's
Yes.
great. So yeah, so version control systems will help you manage your code base. Okay, that's great. You are using SVN. Anyone else? Any other version control systems? Or else, what is a version control system?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Tanmay.
I have used Git in my college projects. So basically, version control is we initially create one prototype, and then we update it so that the versions get. We need to store that versions in a specific place. So for that reason, we use a version control system.
Okay. So yeah, some of you are having some understanding, some basic idea of what it is, and some of you are completely new to this, right? So like I said, for any topic, we'll be going from the basics. So first, let me explain you what is a version control system. Okay, why do you need it as a DevOps person? Who else should learn it? To what extent we should learn and all. So what is a version control system? To understand this better, let me take up a very simple example. Suppose let's say there are a team of people. Okay, let's say a development team. You may not be a developer, but let me take an example. Let's say there's a team of developers, okay, working on it without version control system. Okay, I'm talking about there is no version control system. So a team of people will be working on this code base. There might be some hundreds of files available on this remote location, and this remote location will be having access to multiple developers like developer A, developer B, like every developer will be connecting to it and they will be working on it. Let's suppose developer A, developer B has to work on the same file. Let's say there is some t1.java, any files, any static files. So A will download this file to his computer, P1 file. B also downloaded the same file at the same time. So both made some changes. And when they want to share it with others and put it on remote, let's assume A kept the file back on day 1. Okay, B placed the file back on remote on day 2. Now tell me, if they don't use any version control system, they were just manually managing the files. File P1 file on this remote on day 2, after day 2 will have which person changes? Will it have both persons or which person changes will be there on this P1 file? Without version control system. Both downloaded the file at the same time and they made changes. A completed his changes and kept the file on day 1. Next day, B kept the file. So finally, this file will have which person changes? Will it have both the person changes or which person changes will be there? Yeah. See, when both of them downloaded this file and made changes and put it back, after day 2, person
The last
could
thing
not.
that was made is only the last thing that was made that will be there.
Yeah, the latest changes will be there. Lastly, which person added the changes? Person B changes will only be there. I'm talking about without version control system, Harish. Oh, sorry, Naveen. Okay, without version control system. Okay, so without version control system, because they were not managing the files, what happens? Person B or else developer B's changes will be overwriting developer A's changes. This happens if you don't use any version control system. Because this person made changes at the last and he kept the file, his changes will be overwriting developer A changes. Means one person is overwriting the other person changes without knowing. A doesn't know this is happening. Even B doesn't know he is doing it. So without consciousness, this will happen. So if this keep on repeat, what happens? If this he keep on continuing, at some point, this remote location will have only person B changes. Am I correct? Only person B changes will be there. And if this keep on continuing with the 10 developers in a team or else 10 program files, the project would be messed up. Project would be corrupted, right? Which is not a best practice or which is not expected in the projects, isn't it? So how can we avoid this problem? So that's where again version control system comes up, which solves this problem. Of course, many things it will handle. This is one of the things. Means it can allow developers to work on the same files parallelly, simultaneously at the same time, like simultaneously on the same file, right? Without this, yes, changes gets overwritten, project goes messed up, there is no proper tracking, there is no proper changes recorded. Right, this is what happens without version control system. So version control system can help you work with the multiple files when you are working in a team, right? So not only that, let's suppose, like I said, there are 100 files, many developers are working on it, A, B, C. Okay, let's suppose today till 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. application is doing good. Suddenly at 8:15 application got crashed. We want to immediately revert the changes happened in between. What happened in between? Like 8 to 8:15. So you need to identify immediately and revert, pull off those changes. But how do you know? Means you need to have a system which can help you have detailed logging. What is meant by logs? Like it should provide you a detailed log of, yes, at 8:05 p.m. developer A made changes on P1 file on line number 6. This kind of detailed logging should be provided so that when you are working in a team, you know which person is making changes to what file so that you can track them very well. Am I correct? So this is another advantage, like another advantage which version control system provides you. Can you do that manually? See, developers will be working on lot of logic. They need to work on the code. They cannot do this kind of logging and all manually, isn't it? They cannot keep on tracking which changes were made at what time. So that's again taken care by a version control system. Not only that, many things. And another thing is backup or maintaining the versions. Meaning, let's suppose we are working, let's say a developer is working on p1.java. Client came with some modifications. This is version 1. They want to, client want to make a version 2 by like adding some modifications. Okay, what the developer does, he have edited the file or else he have modified this file, okay, and made a new file. Means he's having only version 2 now. Sometimes what happens when when this particular version is not doing good, they may want to revert back, go back to the previous version. But that is no more because he had just edited the same file and made version 2, right? So don't ever do that. Maintain the versions, maintain the backups. Like you should also maintain version 1 because if new changes are not doing well, you may have to revert back. So always maintain versions, always maintain backups, right? This is again another advantage of version control system. So it allows a team to work parallelly. It helps us to maintain logging. It helps us to maintain backups and versions, right? All these would be taken care by a version control system. Means This is a system or a tool or a software, whatever you call it, which can help you maintain your huge number of files. These files could be program files, or else any program files, Java, C#, Perl, whatever it is, or else maybe some configuration files, maybe some script files, or else maybe simply any files, any static files can be version controlled by Git or any version control system. Simple text files also can be version controlled. Means if you are working in a team, for developers, it is mandatory because they write so many program files. That's why we call version control system as a developer tool. But yes, it is also used by testers because even automation test engineers write lot of code, lot of test scripts. Okay, even ops teams will have some configuration files from some script files which they have to version control. Even as a DevOps person, we have so many configuration files, maybe our configuration management scripts. Yeah, so anyone, whoever working in IT should learn a version control system for the modern projects, particularly in a methodology like DevOps. Okay, so here we'll not learn writing the code and creating program files. Okay, we don't learn here Java or whatever. We just create some text files, but we'll learn how to use Git to version control them. That is the agenda. First, learn Git to manage the code base, to version control the code base. Then we'll learn the same tool to integrate in the CI/CD pipeline from the perspective of DevOps. So from the both perspectives, we'll learn the tool, we'll master the tool so that we can crack any questions regarding the Git, and we should be able to use it in our projects proficiently. Right? So this is the agenda of this particular topic. It may take some couple of hours, maybe some 6 hours or so for Git. We'll completely master it. Just be along with me, do the complete hands-on, and yes. So that's what a version control system. Hope you all got an understanding of what a version control system is. If you understood what it is, we'll go into the next concept. Am I clear till this much?
Yeah,
Any
Preeti,
question?
this is Harish. Actually, I have one doubt.
Yes, please.
Yeah, actually, you are saying that version controlling that is only for application point of view. Is it applicable for infrastructure point of view?
Infrastructure point of view also, that's what I'm saying. See, I told that version control systems can be used by developers. One second. Testers, ops teams, as well as DevOps persons also. Because see, as a, let's say we are a DevOps people, we'll be having some configuration files, right? Some scripts, some configuration management scripts. That is nothing but to manage your infrastructure. We can automate our infrastructure through scripts as a DevOps person. That concept is called IAC, where we write some configuration management scripts. Even those scripts can be version controlled. Any files can be version controlled by Git.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay?
Thanks, Preeti.
Yeah.
Yeah, Preeti, actually, I have one more doubt. Last 2 days, I haven't attended that 2 sessions. So if we
Okay.
have enough time, end of the session, can you please elaborate about our course curriculum, what we have to cover in this DevOps
Sure, I'll do that,
Power
Harish.
course?
Just remind me. Remind me, I'll give you an overview. Also, I'll provide you the recordings of 2 sessions. No worries, okay?
Yeah. All right.
Remind me.
Yeah. All right.
And
Yeah,
please
thanks,
keep
Preeti.
it. Yeah, please keep it. So now that we understood what is version control system, let us go and understand like what are the different types in it. See, depending on the architecture of the version control systems, they were categorized as centralized version control systems and distributed version control systems. Means depending on the architecture, like there are lot many version control systems, but they have their own architecture. So depending on the architecture, they were categorized. Okay. So how they were categorized, we'll see. They were categorized as centralized version control systems and distributed. But what is meant by that? Let's see. First, let's talk about the centralized version control systems. See, if you see here in centralized version control system, this is nothing but the workstation of each developer or else a DevOps person. Okay, anyone, whoever want to manage the files. Let's say, yes, this is the workstation of a DevOps person. Let's say myself. This is the workstation of yours. Okay, let's say this is person 2, DevOps person, DevOps engineer 2, DevOps engineer 3. Okay, these are the workstation of each person. Now, everyone will be connected to some remote location where all the project files would be kept, like all your configuration management scripts, all the configuration scripts, everything would be kept on this remote location. So what each DevOps person will do, they'll be connecting to this remote location, get the code changes from here, okay, make changes and put it back. Right, see here these arrows. Everyone will be working, connecting to this remote location, get the code changes to their local computer, local workstation, make changes there and put it back. This kind of architecture is called central. Central means this is the called as central server or else a remote server. Okay, all the code changes would be kept here. Each person in the project will be connected to it. Maybe it could be a test project or a developer's project or else a DevOps project like this. Okay, so they'll be connecting to this remote location, get the files here, make changes and put it back. This is the architecture of centralized version control system. But there are few drawbacks with this kind of architecture. The first most and the main drawback is network connection. Always you need to have network connections to work on it. See, let's say this is my workstation. If there is no network connection, right, let's say there is no network connection, you cannot just connect to this remote and work on it. Like you need always network connection to connect to the remote and work on it. For some reasons, if network is disconnected for some reasons, entire work will be halted. Right, you cannot just proceed further, you cannot continue further, right? That's one thing. Network connections are required to work on it. Another thing is this works like a single source of truth. See, all your location, all the code base is kept, all the project files are kept here, right? For some reasons, if the central server got crashed or lost, yes, entire code, entire project work is lost. It works like a single source of truth, means chances of recovery are less, right? So these are the drawbacks of centralized version control systems. And what are the centralized version control systems in the market? Yes, SVN falls under the centralized version control system. Okay, SVN, TFS, Perforce, these are all different version control systems. Okay, there are so many version control systems. So SVN, TFS, Perforce falls under this centralized version control system. But in a modern DevOps projects, we were using distributed version control systems like Git. As per the latest survey, Git is most widely used in all the projects. Like 90% of the projects uses Git. It's so famous and very well used efficiently in the modern DevOps projects, right? So let's talk about this. This comes under distributed architecture. Means architecturally they are different. Let's see what is meant by this distributed version control system. See, we were learning all the tools as per the industry needs. Okay, it's not just learning some random tool. There's a purpose in choosing the tool which is very widely used, so that you'll have so many, like you'll have more job openings, right? So coming to this distributed version control system, see here the diagram itself says, let me clearly put it here. Yes, this is the workstation of each individual person in the project. Okay, this is the workstation of DevOps person 1, DevOps person 2, whatever. So now this is the remote location. Okay, and all the code base, all the program files or else project files are kept here on this location. And if you notice here, this is called as remote server or remote repository or central repository. And every workstation, like every user is having their own copy of remote, which is called local repository. Every user will have a copy of remote, which is called local repository. Right? That's why it's called distributed. Means every user will have their own copy of the remote repository, and this is called as like this kind of architecture is called distributed version control system. And here, if you notice, this user will not directly work on remote. They'll first make changes here. Of course, they'll get a copy from remote, okay, and create a local repository. Now they'll make their changes here. They may write some configuration management scripts, whatever. They make their changes here. Once their changes are done, then they'll share it. Then they'll push to remote. Until they push to remote, they are confined only for yourself. These changes are confined only for myself. Until I push them to remote, no one else can see them, right? So every user is having a local repository with a copy of remote. So what are the advantages? Network connection is required only to pull, means get a copy, or to push your changes. Exact commands we are going to learn them, okay? So you need network connections only to pull or push. These are less frequent commands, isn't it? You'll be writing some code or script only once it is done, you'll push. You will not be pushing every line, right? So these commands are less frequent. Most of the times we work here. Means whenever you are working here, no need of network connections. Am I correct? This is your local computer. You need network connections only to push or pull. So, meaning even though network connection is disconnected, you can still continue working here. Entire work is not halted like in the case of centralized version control systems. Correct? So, yes, you can still continue working here. Okay, working here. Once complete work is done, you can push there, right? So, no need of network connections always. So that's one advantage. Another thing is, even though the central server is crashed, chances of recovery are very good because see, everyone is having a copy of remote. Am I correct? So that's another advantage. One more advantage is like most of the time we work on local. Local means just you need to access your hard drive. That's all, right? So it is faster as well because most of the times you work here only once complete thing is done, you can push to remote. So these are all the advantages of distributed version control systems. And yes, our Git falls under distributed version control system. Git, Mercurial, other version control systems which are distributed in architecture. Git, Mercurial, Fossils, all these are distributed version control systems. Am I clear with the architecture of centralized and distributed? Got it, everyone?
Yes, madam.
Any questions here? So, okay, now that we have learned the architectures
Yeah,
in
Preeti, I have
general.
one question.
Yes, please.
Yeah, sorry,
Yes, sir.
Preeti, sorry for disturbing.
No problem. Please go
Actually,
ahead.
in this source control management, you're explaining something about version management, right? Right? Like version 1, version 2, version 3. So these version need any backup?
These versions need any backup, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, these versions will be stored in GitHub or it will record any extra backup services like cloud
We will
service.
store it first in our local repository, Harish. This is called GitHub. Okay, our remote works like, this is Git, and the remote, your GitHub works like a remote repository. GitHub, Bitbucket, okay, GitHub, GitLab, these all works like a remote repositories. This is local. First, we'll create our local repository, which is a Git repository, make changes here and push them to remote. So you are always having a copy here, which is nothing but a backup. Of course, whoever collaborated there will have a copy.
Okay, so here no need to take the backup. Yeah.
You need not take the backup. Your version control system will help you do that. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
See, we are going to see practically, Harish. Don't worry. I'll show you creating this Git, creating GitHub, how do you push, how do you pull, how the code is stored, backed up, all that we'll learn so that you will get a complete clarity on it. First, theoretically, I'm explaining you because that is important to understand the things at the back end. Okay, we'll also create the files, everything we'll see practically. Okay, in few minutes.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks, Preeti.
you are welcome. And now that we understood the architecture, see here, I have just placed the Google Trend reports when compared with other tools like SVN, TFS, Fossils. See, Git is a clear winner in the category. Do you see the blue graph? So like, there are a lot many projects on Git. Majority of the projects will be using Git. You might be a DevOps person or else you might be working in any other methodologies, but still Git is required for every one of us if you are working in IT. So learn it, master it as much as you can. Now, yeah, see till now we have learned the architecture in general. Now let's talk about the architecture of Git in particular. I mean to say, we just discussed the architecture, right, for distributed version control systems. And here we have discussed like so many tools are there under this like Git, Mercurial, Fossils, right? Again, each tool will have their own terminology in managing the architecture. So let's talk about the architecture of Git in particular, okay, because we are going to master it. So see here, like I said, there'll be two repositories, local and remote. And local means this is my workstation, okay, my local machine, my laptop, let's say. Now, let's say there's a project on remote, okay, already there is a project that's some, let's say some 6-year-old project. I joined the team as a DevOps person. Already so many configuration management scripts, so many files are there on remote. So I should create a local repository in my laptop, right? So I'll copy from remote and create this. Okay, perfect. I have created my Git local repository. Now I'll not again directly work on it. I'll not jump on that. I cannot work on it directly. Rather, I'll be working in some other working directory. Means let's say some other directory or some other folder. So I'll make my code changes or else scripts, whatever. I'll create my files here. Then again, I cannot jump in like that. I cannot just move my changes from working directory to local. No. What I should do? There is something like a staging area or else an index area which sits in between working directory and local repository. How it will be created? Whenever you create local repository, this will be created. I will show you. So there is something like staging area or else index area. It's a virtual layer. So first you need to move your changes here. Do you see that? From here only you can move your changes to local. Means it's a 3 steps before your changes goes to remote. First from working directory to staging area, then from staging area to local repository, and then to remote. Then only others will see. Only once you place here, other team members can see your changes or whatever scripts you have written, right? So this is called the index area or staging area. And the importance, you might be having a question, why should we do this? Like, what is the importance of it? It is important. It works like a preview or else a pre-check before your changes goes to local. Let me give you a small example. Suppose in my working directory, I'm having 10 files. Okay, I want to add only 5 files to my staging area. Okay, let's say only 5 files should be added to my staging area, right? So only, only 5 files should go to local. So what I'll do, I will add only those 5 files to the staging area. And when I commit it, whatever in the staging area will go here, right? So this works like a preview or else pre-check to make sure what changes are going to your local. That is the importance of this staging area. See, just listen here and get an overview. Unless you see that practically, you cannot be crystal clear with it. I'll make the things clear. Just allow me a few minutes. Okay? Just bear with me for a few minutes. I'll practically show you and makes the things clear. So yeah, first you have some changes here. You have to move them to staging area and then to local repository and then to remote. Means this is called Git tree. This is how your changes moves from different layers, let's say. Okay, just understand, just remember it, that's all. How I'll show you. Now that we understood this, let me tell you another interesting point. Here, your local repository can be created in two scenarios. There are two use cases where you should create it. One is, like you already said, it's old project. Okay, there is a project on remote. I joined the team as a DevOps person. So I'll copy from it, copy from remote and create a local repository. Copy from remote and create a local repository. That's one use case. Another use case may be, it's a completely new project. New project just now starting as a DevOps project. There's nothing on remote. So as a DevOps person, everyone, like let's say I'm assigned with and I'm assigned a task of writing some Ansible scripts. You might be given some task of writing some files for Kubernetes. So everyone, every developer or a DevOps person like us will be creating a local repository manually. Let's say create a repository, local repository manually, an empty one first, then make changes there, then push to remote. So two use cases where you can create a local repository, or how you can create a local repository. Understood these two scenarios? First, we'll deal with it. Means assume there's nothing on remote. It's a new project, like our batch. Let's say we are a batch of DevOps team. Okay, we were starting, we were working on a project. So there's nothing on remote. Let's forget about remote. There's nothing on remote. So I will be working on Ansible scripts. You'll be working on Kubernetes. Someone else will be working on Terraform code. So we'll be writing some configuration scripts. Each one will create our own local repository, then push to remote. So first we'll start from here. I'll also show you this as we progress through the course. Yeah. So this is one thing. Am I clear with this, or should I repeat anything here? A quick confirmation will help me so that I understand, okay, you are all with me following. Yes or no in the chat window will help me.
Yeah,
If you
Preeti,
don't
go
want to unmute, you could just give a message in the chat window like yes or no. All right. So yeah, these are the scenarios how you can create a local repository. Quick recap of which part, Naveen? Architecture. Do you want me to recap the architecture part? Okay, sure, I'll do. Before we proceed, I'll talk about the architecture. Before recap, just let me finish one more point here. I would like to tell you another interesting point. Working directory, local repository, you can imagine them like a directories. But interesting thing is your working directory, local repository is physically the same folder or the same directory. It's only one. Isn't it interesting? Same folder or same directory. Then how come you are saying working directory and local repository, isn't it? It is because physically it's the same folder or same directory. Logically it is different. Let me tell you. Suppose you just created a file there. Means, one minute. Let me put it more neatly. Yes, this working directory, local repository is physically the same folder or the same directory. Then how come you say it's different? See, if you just created a file, that's it. You just placed a file means it is set to be in the working directory. Then you run the command git add on that file means it is set to be in the staging area. If you commit those changes by git commit, then only it's set to be in the local repository. Means it's the same, the file is in the same folder, but as per the status of it, we say like it is in the working directory or staging area or local repository. Got it now, everyone? Am I making sense? Interesting, isn't it? See, Git is a tool for a beginner. It may be a little bit confusing, but if you learn with clarity, it will be like very easy to work around. Okay, you should just put some attention, learn it with clarity and practice it. That's all. Anyway, everything, whatever I have explained, I'll show you. So before proceeding to hands-on, let me give a quick recap. See, we were talking about architecture of version control systems. Then we discussed, depending on it, they were categorized as centralized version control system. Yeah, depending on the architecture, centralized version control system and distributed version control system. So again, under distributed, we were talking about Git architecture. If you talk about any distributed version control systems, there'll be two type of repositories, local and remote. Okay, local means it will be in your workstation, in your local machine. Okay, and that is confined only for yourself. Means any changes there will be visible only for you. If you want to share it with others, if you want to collaborate as a team, you have to move them to remote. And how can you move your changes? See, if there is already some project on remote, you want to work on the same, you will copy it and create a local repository. Or else if there is nothing on remote, it's a new project. You can create local repository manually, develop your changes here, then push to remote, like everyone in the team does, right? So that's one thing. And whenever you are working on local, you will not just like, it's not like something you just place changes directly here. No, first there'll be something called working directory. Okay, any changes will stay in a working directory. Then you have to move them to staging area, then to local. You cannot jump away like this or like this. No, this is the process or the stages how your changes or files move. First from working directory to staging area, from staging to local. You cannot jump this way. No, right? So always remember this architectural diagram. Now I'll go to our lab. I'll show you practically whatever I have mentioned, whatever I have explained till now. What is meant by like moving changes here? What is your local? How do you create it? How can these be the same directory or same folder? All that I'll show you practically. Okay. Now, see, don't do the hands-on now. For today, just listen. Okay, because these things you should not miss a single point also here. So just please relax and listen. Yesterday we have set up our lab and created our instance, right? EC2 instance we have created yesterday. If you have not created also, perfectly fine. And we have installed Git here. Do you remember? Okay, this is another system. See, how to install Git on Linux? Minstall Git with a -y option. That will install Git. Yum is a default package manager in Linux. Yesterday I have explained you. So Git is installed now. Check the version of Git. See, perfect, Git is installed. Okay, you can work on your Linux system or else Git works for Windows also. So you can also do it on Windows. I'll also show you on Windows. Just go to a browser, Git download. You will be taken to the official website of Git. All these references, steps, everything I'll provide. Just relax and listen. Go to downloads. See here, whether yours is Mac or Linux or Windows, you could choose, you could click that accordingly. Now I want to do it on Windows, my laptop. So just click this. It will download a exe file. See, I'm canceling it because I already have it. Download the exe and run the exe. I believe you all can do that, right? Running the executable. Even then, help is here if you need any help in doing it. See, with the screenshots, everything is here. Okay, like downloading it, everything is there in the other document also. See here, the link is also available. I have shared all these documents with you. So now once Git is installed, you could launch your Git bash. Okay, and work from your Git bash as well. About Git bash, I have explained you yesterday, right? So first I'll show you in Windows, okay, so that you can understand very easily. Then I'll show you on Linux. Yeah, is that okay? Or do you want me to show it directly on Linux? Is that fine, or shall I show you on Windows first?
Show on Windows.
Okay, first I'll show you on Windows. Okay, then I'll show you on Linux. Okay, just let's suppose now go to your Windows system. We have already installed Git. Git is there, but you should know like which directory you need to version control. Means go to a particular directory, whichever you want to put your program files. So on desktop, I would like to put all my project files in a folder called, let's say, my project. Okay, so this is the directory I want to put my program files or project files, and this is the directory I would like to version control. So from your git bash, go to this directory. How do you go? Copy this address. CD means change directory. Go there. See, ls means list the files. No files are there. Create the file. You may right click and create the file, or else I'm using here Visual Studio Code as an editor. This is an editor with which you can create any script files or even text files, anything you can work with it. I'll provide a link for it. It's like any editor, like you have Notepad++ and all, right? An editor, that's it. Don't worry about what is this and all. It's some editor to create your files. So here open the directory whichever you want to version control. Open the folder whichever you want to place your program files. It's a my project. At the backend, see the changes at the backend. Now, okay, fine. This is the project I want to place my project files. So whichever directory you want to version control, that directory should be your local repository. Means I am executing the second scenario I have explained. What is the second scenario? Assuming that there is nothing on remote, create a local repository manually. So I'm creating a local repository manually. Local repository is nothing but a directory where you are going to place all your files, project files. How do you create a local repository? Git init. You should go to the directory whichever you want to place, you want to version control, or whichever you want to be a local repository, and run the command called git init. Means initializing Git, starting Git. Okay, means Git is installed on the system, but which directory you want to make a local repository? Where do you want to place your project files? Isn't it? So go to the directory and run git init. See, Git, it says that initialize empty Git repository, means empty Git repository is created. This is your empty Git repository. Okay, you can check the hidden files with -al command. See, hidden files, a .git will be created. Okay, .git is there, means whichever directory is having .git, that directory is called local repository. See here, can you see .git is created? Now my project is a local repository. Am I making sense? What is your local repository here? My project is nothing but your local repository. Local repository is created. Now, whatever files, if you keep any files here, they will be version controlled by Git. Yeah. Shall we create some files now and see how it works? Let me show you. Let me create some file here. Like, let's say, yeah, from here also you can create from your editor. Let me create some simple text file. Okay, I'm just creating some text file, file1.txt. Okay, see here, let's say I'll put here, this is my first text file in my local repository. Some dummy line. Okay, it could be some scripts or whatever. As of now, some dummy line, and save it. Okay, just come to git bash. Now ls, yes, file is there, but is it being version controlled by Git or not? To see that, run the command called git status. See, git status tells you, see, there is a file called file1.txt. Git knows there is a file, but Git is not tracking it. Git knows there is a file, but Git is not tracking it, and it is telling you that nothing added, nothing added to commit, but untracked files present. To track it, add it. It is asking us to add, means relate to this diagram, and can you tell me where is your file now? File 1, where is file 1? Relate to this architectural diagram and tell me. Yeah? Yes?
Working directory.
Exactly, it's in the working directory. Your changes are in working directory. You may be asking it, but it is my project. My project is local. Yes, my project is your local repository. My project is your working directory. That's what I was saying some time back. Both are same. Physically, it's one and the same, but logically, it's different. Okay, so now let me add it. Git add, how do you add? File name. Now let's run the command. Now can you tell me where is this file? Again git status. Changes to be committed means where is this file? Naveen,
The staging
Rudresh, all
area.
of you following along? Yes, it is in the
The
staging
staging
area.
area.
Yes, that's how your changes goes through the 3 layers. Okay, so yeah, it's in the staging area, but I want to place it in local repository. What you should do? Git commit -m for message. Message is mandatory. For every commit, you should provide some message. Message is like some comment so that you could understand what those changes are all about. Let's say this is some sample file, like that, some comment. Okay, let's say first file. Okay, changes about the first file and run that. Now, where are my changes? Okay, done. Now check the status. Nothing to be committed. Everything tree is clean means whatever changes are there, everything what in the local repository perfect. How to go to remote, we'll see. Okay, before going to remote, there are many other concepts we should learn. So yeah, just see here. Here also you could see the file is like it was showing you earlier like unstaged, but now it was all good, right? So this is how you can work. ls will show the files in the working directory. Git ls files will also show, will show the files in a local repository. So my project is a local repository. My project is the working directory. It's the same directory. See, this is the. Shall we repeat with another file so that the things should be more clear? Shall I repeat the same with another file?
Yes, madam.
Let us create another file. You may create using any editor. I am creating from here. Just go here and let's say file2 dot, any files can be version 1. Create a new file. Let's say another text file in local repository. Okay, and save it. Now, yes, your file is here. And now you could also check here status. What would be this status showing? Yeah. Again, untracked. It could not track it. It know there is a file, but it cannot track it. You should add it and commit it. Okay. Let me do ls now. ls will show the files in a working directory. See both of them. But git ls files will show only the files in a local. See, file2 is not there. Understood, everyone? Interesting, isn't it? It's like a magic. So now, yeah, let us add this also. So git add file2. Now the status should be changed again. Status. Now what does status message tells us? Changes to be committed means, like I said, always keep this architectural diagram in your mind. Maybe from the point of interview, or else you could just calculate, you could just work with it in your mind. Just working directory, staging area, local repository. That's all. We'll play with this layers with a lot many things. We are going to do lot many things, lot many exercises here. So just memorize this architectural diagram. Remember it. Okay, now, yeah, changes to be committed. So git commit -m, let's say second file or whatever. Now you can check the status. It should tell you it's all good. It's all working tree is clean. So whatever in the working directory, got there in local. Got it now? How come both are same? Whatever I have explained theoretically, is that all clear now for everyone? Still anyone, any confusions, anyone lost? Perfect, right? Okay.
Yeah, Preeti,
So,
we can commit it That only files, or it is available for folders as well?
Any folders also, whatever folder, suppose if you have any subfolders in this, okay, you could also run the same command like git add that folder name. When you add the folder, the contents of that particular subfolders will also be added recursively. Okay. And
Yeah,
also
okay.
similarly, like to add the folder and again commit the changes. See here, if you notice, whatever in the staging area will be committed when you run commit command. Okay. Or else if you want to commit a particular file or a particular folder also you can do. Let me summarize the commands once again before I go for the next command. Please listen here, I'm giving a recap. Yeah, git init will create a local repository, right? Empty local repository, then we were creating some files like git add, git commit. Git add means it will add your changes from working directory to staging area. Commit means staging area to local repository. Okay, so whenever you are committing, do you notice I'm not giving any file name? So what happens, whatever in the staging area, there might be 2 files or whatever it is, everything will be committed. But if you want to commit only a specific file, git commit that file name like file1.txt, okay, -m, then this will commit only that particular file. But generally we do this way. Once we push all our changes to staging area, we'll commit it all of them at once. You don't commit file by file. But in case if you want to do this, this is how you can achieve it. Right? And then git ls files shows the files in local repository. Okay, and what else? What any other new command? That's all. Right? So till now, how many commits we have done? How many times we have executed commit command? Yes. We have done twice. So git log can show you the commit history. See, whenever you are committing, every commit will generate the hash code. Okay, including the person who made the changes, the date, like the timestamp and the commit message. This is important, right? Few minutes back we discussed, like it can help you have a very detailed logging. So it will show you the complete log. But let's say I don't want the detailed log. I just want simple, brief log, git log one. Only first 7 characters are enough. You don't need to go through the entire commit ID. Right? Every commit will generate a commit ID, and you can also undo the commits. Those are all the things coming up. How to undo, how to revert, how to reset, rebase, merging, branching, lot many things we'll learn. But we'll go step by step. Okay, so this is how you can check the log of the commits you have done. Right? Yeah, shall we take up another interesting scenario or anything should I repeat? Shall we go for another interesting scenario? Yes, or should I repeat anything? Rudresh,
Yes,
Naveen,
Pratik, you
every
can go ahead.
right. Okay. See, till now we were creating new files, right? Shall we modify an existing file? Isn't it? It's not that always we'll create new files. We may have to modify the files, isn't it? So how do you modify it? Let's say, let's go to file 1. Let's say I'm just writing here. This is a new line. Okay, let's save it. So I'm just adding a new line here. Okay, so I just made a modification. Now check the status. What would be the status message telling us? Any guess? Anyone? Let's
Untracked.
see. See, it will not be untracked because it's not a new file. File 1 is already there in staging area. It's already there in local repository, right? That is the point you need to understand. Not staged. Not staged means it's in the working directory. You may be asking, same as untracked. No, untracked means file is not at all there in a staging area and local repository. But file is there. But the modification is not staged. Okay, what you should do again as usual, add it and then git add and git commit, or else because it's not a new file, it's a not stage change, you can commit with a add and commit with a single command, git commit -a -m file modified. Understood? But if it is a new file, untracked file, you cannot do it. You have to do it separately, like git add, git commit. Am I making sense, all of you? So because it's not a new file, let me do it this way. You can do in this case, because it's not a new file, you can do either ways. You may do it separately or else with a single command. File modify. But if it is a new file, you have to do it through two separate commands. Okay. So let me run this. Okay. So now check the status. It should be clear. Means here the point to note is whether it is a new file or whether it is a modification. It should go through the layers of working directory, staging area, and local repository. Right? Shall we execute the whole thing once again quickly, like creating a new file and managing it? Yeah. Shall we create one more file finally for today? Just create a file, add it, then commit it. That's all. Okay. Let me create a new file quickly. Just repeat the whole concept. Just be with me, everyone, and you should answer now. I'm creating a new file.
Yeah, Preeti, one second.
Tell me please.
Yeah, you should create that new file, and one more thing is you should modify something in the file to our file one. We wanted to see what is the status of those things.
Come again, Harish. I have created
So now
new
you are created. Yeah,
file
that
name.
is one. And one more thing is, can you modify anything in file 1 or file 2?
Okay, at the same
You will
time
do
you
two
want me
things.
to modify. Okay.
Yeah.
File 1 I'm modifying. Okay, I'm modifying like this is another new line. Okay, and I'm saving it. Now,
Yeah.
let's see what happens. Now, just see the status. Okay, you have untracked file as well as unstaged changes. Got it, Harish? And everyone. Yeah, untracked because this is a new file. Okay, and unstaged because file 1 is there, but only certain changes were unstaged. So what you have to do, file 3, you have to add and commit separately. Okay, let me add it. Shall I add it? Git add file 3. Okay, shall I do it? Can I run the command or any questions here? Okay, let me run the command. Now again check the status. See here unstaged changes are there and this file is showing like changes to be committed. Okay, so what I'll do is git commit means whatever in the staging area will be committed. This is in the staging area. This is unstaged changes. So I'll also put -a so that these changes will be added and committed and this change will be committed. Can I do this way? All changes. Can I do this? Agree with this command, everyone, or any questions on this command? Right? So let's run this. Actually, let's see. 2 files got committed. Got it now, all of you? Now check the status. Like on nothing to commit. Everything is perfect. Right? See, the same way you can work on your Linux machine. Okay, just quickly I'll show you here creating a local repository. If anyone interested to do it on Linux, yes, it doesn't make any difference. Go to any folder, like create some directory, mkdir, let's say my project on Linux. go to this. Okay, here do git edit. Okay, do the hidden files dot git is that means my project is a local repository. Again, you can create a file, use Vim editor. How to use Vim editor I have explained you yesterday. Anyway, just you can create any file like file1.txt, escape I, put some content like this is a new file, again escape colon WQ exclamatory. Just simple practice will help you manage your files. Now yes, file is there. Okay, now you can check the status. Everything is set. Untracked. What do you have to do? Git add file1 and git commit -m, let's say first file. This is on Linux. Anything is same. Again, if you check the status, right? So whichever you prefer, you can do it. But what I would suggest is, or else in real practice, generally like in a real project, if you are a DevOps person, if you are writing some Terraform scripts like Terraform code or Ansible files, you'll be managing from them from your local computer. Means from your editor, you may be writing them, then use version control system to manage it, push to your remote repositories. Means see here, you will develop your script files in your local, push to your remote, right? From remote, you could pull them onto Ansible server or Terraform server and execute the code there. That's how it works in reality. So you may be creating using Git to manage your files in any way is fine. So yeah, that is all for today, but please wait for a few more minutes. Before I talk about the next class, any questions in today's topic? Any questions in today's topic?